You're the only one who has returned.
What?
Welcome to Decoding TV's coverage of Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 1. Again, if you are not aware of what we're doing here on Decoding TV, Dark Matter Season 2 is premiering at the end of August, and so we are rewatching every episode of Dark Matter and talking about it. I have already seen every episode. Patrick Klepek has not, so it's going to be his first time going through it. So he'll be the audience surrogate in this situation. But I've already seen it, and in addition, I'm going to be reading the book by Blake Crouch, Dark Matter, who is also the showrunner of the series Dark Matter. And I'm going to be providing some insights and comparisons to the book, and hopefully that'll be a little bit more value add as opposed to, hey, these are two guys talking about a show I watched 2 years ago. Hopefully there'll be a little value add. And you can join along, watch along with the show on Apple TV, or read the book along with me. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. We hope you'll join us. This is the first time we are doing something like this at Decoding TV. So we want to hear what you think. Are you enjoying it? Is this a good thing you'd want us to do for other shows to do moving forward? We'd love to hear your feedback. decodingtv@gmail.com is how you can communicate that feedback to us. So all that said, let's get into Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 1, the season premiere. Patrick Klepek, let's start with our overall thoughts on this episode. I do want to point out that when this show premiered, it did premiere both episodes 1 and 2 at the same time. We're only going to be discussing episode 1. We'll do episode 2 next week, and so on until the premiere of season 2 of Dark Matter. But what did you think of the episode so far? And then we will talk in detail with spoilers about what actually happened.
So I've watched this premiere twice. I watched it for the first time as part of, hey, I know David wanted to watch Dark Matter, maybe cover season 2. Sometimes I'll set my iPad up while I'm cooking dinner for the family and the kids, and like, all right, like I feel like I can watch this off to the side while I'm prepping, and
stuff you don't care about, you can just put.
Well, I'm trying to figure out like how do we want to cover season 2?
Right,
It's like I'll watch this a little more casually before and then I mentioned that to you, and you're like, wait. Maybe there's something else we can do with this here. So last night before recording this, I rewatched episode 1, and I will say I liked episode 1 more upon the second watch, and it's less so because I was watching it more on a proper television with like better audio, more that like at first glance it's like, oh, like another show where like a guy from another dimension comes in and they swap places. Well, I've seen that one before. Like it's not an original premise.
When you say you've seen that one before, though, what are the ideas that come to mind? I'm just curious. Like,
just
I agree.
The idea, just generically, I'm not speaking to any particular like story, but like the idea of like a version of you like can come from somewhere else.
Right.
You swap place. That in and of itself is not enough to go. Wonder what they're gonna do with this idea.
Wonder where this is going.
The part that makes me interested is one, the caliber of actors across the board. Like,
sure.
Like who we've got here is just like just a ton of like actors that I love watching chew on interesting material. And it was really in the second watch, like especially, we'll get into it, like the sort of intimate scene between two characters at the end, that you start to really sit with the implications of what has happened here, and what could be interesting about it being done in a television format where there is just only so much juice you can squeeze from. I wonder what that would happen. I wonder if that could happen. I wonder what happened if this happened in a 90-minute, 2-hour film.
Right.
So you can only sort of brush against the basic ideas that would happen, the ripple effects of swapping places with another version of yourself. So that's what got me excited to keep going by the end. Was like, I think the pilot is fine. I think it establishes sort of the base level stakes, but doesn't actually do the part that I'm excited about, which is what are the implications that can be explored by doing this for 10 hours as opposed to 90 minutes. And I think a television series, much like a book, is a really interesting place to sit with those implications in a way that can be high stakes and low stakes, right? Like high stakes is, you swap places, the world is going down unless the timeline is reestablished. Like
right.
Lower stakes is like did a sexual assault just occur as a result of
right.
like, and it's things that just, like that, this stuff gets really complicated and really thought-provoking really fast. The show has a chance to sit with that. I don't know if it does. I'm guessing based on the reactions of you and others that it does. And that's what makes me more interested to keep going. I think had I just watched this pilot, I'm just skimming through genre shows. I don't think there's enough there. The whole reason we're doing this exercise at all is because of the enormous praise I've heard from you and others over where the show ends up going. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed this first episode. I don't think like it's a banger, but it's like mostly because it's covering a lot of similar ground to what I've seen in stories that explore a similar premise.
I think that's totally fair, Patrick. I will say that episode 2 is when I really got hooked on the show. Like,
Okay.
episode 1, I agree, is fine. And perhaps that's why they released them both together. But
Sure.
we'll have to wait till next week to talk about episode 2. But episode 2 is when the meme where you sit forward in the chair.
Seat, yeah.
Like that's when I was like, oh, okay, like this is how we're gonna go. And so I want to hear what your reaction is after next week.
Great.
I'm looking forward to that. But why do I like Dark Matter? Why do I keep thinking about the show even years after it's aired? Right. And it's because it asks this basic question: what if you could live a different life? What if in your own life you had made different choices? Right. Like, what if you had decided to proceed, you had zigged instead of zagged? Like, how would your life be different? Would you be happier? Would you be happier than you are now if you had done a different thing? And I think the show really explores that question, that fundamental question, in a way that I think is extremely satisfying. And we can talk about what the answer is to that question as we get towards the end of the show. But maybe you can guess what the answer is right from the jump, just in the way I'm phrasing it.
I don't know if we maybe don't have time for this week, but at some point, maybe we should wait to the end of the show. I don't know. But I think the audience, maybe people can write in, and you, David, should think about this, and I will think about this. I already have an answer, I'm pretty sure. If you can pinpoint the biggest yes-no departure moment that fundamentally changes the entire arc of your life.
Of your life.
What is, whether it's a decision someone made for you, and then that, but like, look through your life. What is the moment that has the most profound impact of like what changes?
Do you have that in mind right now for you?
Yeah, I've been with my wife for 20 plus years, and we started dating in college. We've been together for less than a year. I was 21. She was 23. I got offered a job. I had planned to stay home for a year or two and then eventually move to California. We've been together for just a year plus. We're extremely young, kind of barely know each other. And I said, I have to move to California. Do you want to come with me? And if she had said no, everything about my life is different, right? Like,
yeah,
everything. Like, everything about, you can go further back. Like, my parents don't encourage me to write about video games, yada, yada, yada. But like, the most consequential yes, no was whether she said she's going to come to California or not. Because if she doesn't, I meet someone else. Like, maybe I never come back to them. I'm like, just everything about my current life is fundamentally different premised on whether she says yes or no to the question of, we haven't known each other that long to make this big of a decision, but do you want to move to California with me?
Fascinating. Yeah, this is great. This is the kind of stuff I want us to talk about as we're going through the show. So if you have a moment and you want to write to us, decodingtv@gmail.com, maybe we'll read some of yours at the end of the next episode.
I think it'd be fun. Especially,
awesome.
I'm hoping like over the course of the season, maybe other micro ones of those, like it'll be fun to talk about. Like, oh, I have a version of that. Like even in this pilot, like saying yes or no to a job. Like, what is the most like consequential, like yes, no to a job that would have changed a lot of your life? I think could be fun.
decodingtv@gmail.com, or I think this will be on YouTube. We're going to work on that. youtube.com/@decodingtv. If we put that up, you can comment there. I have one that's a job. I have a similar story to you about my wife and so on, but like I have one that's a job, and arguably would be more consequential. Okay, so I was on the verge of graduating college. And when you are about to graduate college, they have all these like informational sessions where basically people come and say, "Hey, apply to our job," and then they reject you after you apply. Like that happened to me so many times, right? You go to that looks like a cool job, and then you apply and they reject you. It's like, well, why? This is a waste of both of our times. Anyway, I went to an info session about how to become an investment banker at JP Morgan. And I actually impressed the rep there, right? Like the guy.
Are you good with numbers? You strike me as some like.
I'm okay with numbers. I'm okay.
You're
with
okay.
numbers.
Okay. Well, just because you running your own personal businesses, that often like
I got an
800
on my SAT. I got a perfect math score on my SAT.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay.
Which was relevant back then. I'm not bragging about that today.
Yeah,
it was relevant back then though, because I was only a few years out from that. And I remember they're like, okay, so if you want to apply, like, submit your thing to this phone number or whatever it was. And I remember submitting my resume or whatever, and then thinking about the life of an investment banker and how, like, when I heard it's like, you got to work 70 to 80 hours a week and you're stressed all the time and you need to wear a suit all the time. And all these things are not like suitable to David Chen necessarily. But of course you're making a shit ton of money. Right. And, that is the concept. That is the trade-off that you're making. I think like investment bankers back then were making something on the order of like $100,000 to $135,000 a year, which 20 years ago, coming out of college directly, is like incredible. It's like mind-blowing amounts of money to make at that point. And so, but I thought about it. I was like, oh man, that life sounds so stressful. I just don't think I want to make that. I don't think that's the kind of life I want. And so I went and withdrew my application. And I remember distinctly I got a phone call about it. Somebody called me and they said, hey, like, it wasn't the person at the seminar, but it was like somebody that was representing. They're like, hey, saw that you pulled your resume. What happened? Is everything okay? And I was like, oh yeah, no, I just don't think I'm that interested. It's like, well, like they're interested in you, like they're interested in like you joining. So are you sure you don't want to do it? And I said, yeah, no, I think it's fine. And literally, if I had said yes to that phone call, I think there's a significant chance my whole life, like there would be no film cast, no decoding, like, and all the stuff that has come from that, like, all the people that, many of my listeners might have been introduced to as a result, might have not happened or wouldn't have happened in the same way. I'm not saying like, and obviously Patrick Klepek is a legend already, so it's not like I'm saying that about Patrick Klepek. But I'm just saying like none of it would have played out in the same way. Like
right.
This whole chapter of my life probably just would not have happened where I'm making stuff for the internet. So I think about that sometimes. Anyway, let's talk about what actually happened in the episode. So I'm gonna recap the episode. I have the Wikipedia plot summary that I've added a few things to, and then I've also read the first 3 to 4 chapters of the book, and I'm going to talk about some differences in the book. There will be no spoilers from future weeks, but I'm going to put the book stuff towards the end so you can skip if you don't want to hear that stuff. I'm going to try to come up with like 3 to 5 book observations / comparisons that we can talk about each week. And so you can kind of reflect on, what's different and why the show chose the way they chose. Again, worth noting, the book Dark Matter was written by Blake Crouch, who also was the showrunner for the show. So he had a lot of control over how the show was adapted. And it's interesting to see some of the decisions that he made. All right. In Dark Matter, Season 1, Episode 1, Jason Desson, a college physics professor, lives with his wife, Daniela, and son, Charlie, in Chicago. End quote. Let me just stop here, Patrick Klepek. As somebody who lives in Chicago,
I'm feasting.
Yeah, I was gonna say like my wife went to University of Chicago. She said this show makes Chicago look great. What do you think?
They also, you can tell, so they live in an area called Logan Square, and there's a famous Logan Square traffic circle, and the spot where when they're going to drive to school, and they stop at the red light, like that's the Logan Square traffic circle. I was like, oh, they did. The Bear shoots in Chicago. Like, I mean, they shoot really close to all the stuff at the quote Bear is near my wife's office. Like, so she's always like, they're shooting again. I know that I don't know if they've announced a new season, but like they're here. And you could tell, but like a lot of the Bear is restaurants in Chicago, and then skyline, like beautiful shots of the city sort of mixed in. This is like, you didn't really have to shoot it like the Logan Square traffic circle to establish the feel. So it's, you
could have done it in Vancouver or something like that, but
I would have known, but like the average person wouldn't have. But because every Chicago-based show does it's like the Chicago establishing shot is either like the skyline of the tall buildings, or like what they do in Batman Begins, like, ooh, like underneath, like the train isn't like on top of us, and you get to drive through like sort of the rustic pillars is like an iconic to driving through Chicago. But here it's like what about the Logan Square traffic circle? And I cannot help but respect it. Like that is some fuck it, man. That's the Apple TV money. Like we're going to the ground floor to something we don't have to prove. But if you know, you know, and I know. And I was like, game, respect, game. Dark Knight.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When his friend Ryan wins the prestigious Pavia Prize, Jason attends his celebration at a local bar called the Village Tap. End quote. So let's just stop there for a second. Now, you might be wondering, what is the Pavia Prize? According to an article from thecinemaholic.com, the Pavia Prize that Jason wins in one reality is completely made up. Though there is a real institution called the University of Pavia in the Lombardy region of Italy, it is not connected with the prize mentioned in the series based on the novel. The university was established in 1361 and is considered one of the most reputable universities in Europe. This prize is probably analogous to like a Nobel Prize in real life. Also, I think one of the things that's hilarious about this show is that it makes these neuroscientists, physicists, people into like like Ryan is like a stud, you know what I mean? Like he's like hitting on women and it's like, oh, it's because he's got the prize. You know, it's like imagine if the Nobel Prize people were like women were throwing themselves at all those Nobel Prize winners. Doesn't really happen as much in real life. I don't. Maybe it does. I don't know. I've never won a Nobel Prize, so maybe I don't know.
Village Tap is a real thing, though.
Oh, nice. Is that? Have you been there?
I don't think so. Yeah. At least I looked at the pictures. It seems to be the same as is depicted in the show, which puts them over in Roscoe Village. I don't know how they're playing with Chicago geography, which can get a little futzy. But I'll keep an eye on as I'm watching the show. Yes. If there are references to places, I will do my best to. Guys, what was the show you did this with Seattle? I forget where you were helping explain Seattle geography to us as it was. Maybe it'll come to me.
I don't remember, but I did look up Lakemont College. Which is not a real college in real life. That's the college that Jason works at.
Right.
It is instead the Mathematics Community Center at Northeastern Illinois University. So I have looked up kind of some of the real life comparisons here. Anyway, as Jason Destin is walking back home, he is held at gunpoint and abducted by a masked man who takes him to a building site, forces him to remove his clothes and surrender his phone, and injects him with an unknown substance, which gradually renders him unconscious. As Jason falls unconscious, the masked man asks Jason if he is happy with his life and if he ever thought about what other lives he could have lived, to which Jason says yes, end quote. Patrick, if you were in this situation where this guy seems to know everything about you, he can unlock your phone, he knows about your wife and kid, he knows about your schedule, he's monitoring your every movement, and then he like sticks you up and then takes you out to a warehouse and asks you to remove your clothes. What is your course of action there? Like, are you behaving like Jason Destin behaves in the show?
Yeah, you should probably fight back at some point. But the show spends a lot of time sort of, even though I don't buy it for the actor. The actor is like, I think you could get in a fight and I think you'd be all right. I don't buy myself necessarily but if I fought myself, I guess that's the difference. You don't know you're fighting yourself, but even though I'm not a confident fighter, I'm pretty sure I could take myself out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't. So okay, so to be clear, right?
I know I don't know.
Your interpretation of what is going on in the show, which I think you have a good reason to believe, is that Jason is being held up by another version of himself.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
that is the heavy implication by the end of the episode.
Right.
And so, if not outright stated, basically, and you're saying the thing is like he doesn't necessarily have a good view of the guy behind him, right?
No,
so
I'm not faulting him for not like clocking like, could I fight myself and win? But I will say, like, my general feeling on like, if I was, it wasn't held up, but it's in San Francisco once, like right after we'd moved there, I had this like nice DSLR camera. It's like it was my gift for my parents for college or graduating college. And we were at one of our Cancun Taqueria on like 7th and Market, if you're familiar with the area, anyone listening. And I had set taken off my neck and I set it down in front of me. And we're not like right by the door, but we're a couple tables in. And it's not a great area of San Francisco. Wasn't then, still isn't now. But unbelievable food. guy rushes in, grabs the camera, rushes out. And like I'm like mid-bite in the burrito. Like, and my wife, girlfriend at the time, looks at me and goes, "Run." And I'm like, okay. So
she's like, "Are you a man?"
So
you just gonna let that happen?
I was just so taken aback. Like it was in front of me, picked up, ran off. And again, I had steak carne asada in my mouth. Like I didn't know what to do. So she says, "Run." And I think she had a more quizzical. It was less like be a man, more like run. Like there was more of a question. Like, so I ran and I caught up with the guy or like around the corner. He goes into an alleyway and he's got the camera and he looks at me and he goes, he doesn't have a gun or a knife or anything, but he's got the camera. He's like, and he says, a phrase I'll never forget. "Do you really want to do this?" And I stopped and went, "No." And I turned around and walked away.
You were like that police officer in the town who, like, when Ben Affleck and his guys are rolling up in the back, he like turns away from it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, I'm glad you did that, Patrick, because otherwise you might not be here to talk about that.
So
right?
I think if I'm being realistic,
right.
I think I end up drugged at the in the warehouse. Like it'll probably be okay when I wake up. See ya. If he was going to kill me, he would have killed me by now. So, I think that's would have been my thought of the matter. Like, this is a bad situation. If I look at the red flags here, they're very red flaggy. But if I was going to die, I think I'd be dead now, and I'm not. So maybe I should just sort of see where this ends up.
I will say that I'm going to try not to do book comparisons like as we talk about the show, but I did want to just bring up in the book, this whole sequence with the two Jasons is much more extended. Like they actually have a full-blown conversation about their history and their past, and it reveals information that I think we're going to get later on in the show, which I think it's good that they moved that to a later point. But there is a moment when the let's say the original Jason, and we'll call that Jason 1 or the original just Jason, says to Jason 2, which is how I'll refer to him from now on, that like I thought you're like, "Are you going to kill me?" And Jason 2 basically says, "No, I'm not going to, but I needed you to believe that I would kill you." Right? That's the only way I was going to get you to come out here. And so there's all these like moments where he threatens him and points the gun at him and does all this stuff to like convince him that he's going to kill him. And in the show, I just don't think you really need that particularly. Like you can just, hey, he's got a gun pointed at him. He's asking him to do some basic, it kind of all makes sense. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, when he awakens, Jason Destin finds himself in a laboratory facility called Velocity Labs, where he meets lab psychiatrist Amanda Lucas, who he doesn't recognize, and Velocity CEO Leighton Vance, whom he does recognize, both of whom are delighted that he has returned. We've learned that Jason is the chief science officer and co-founder of the company Velocity Labs, and that he has been gone for 14 months. Uncertain and disoriented, Jason escapes the lab and returns to his house, where he again meets Amanda, who says she lives there with him. The interior decor of the house is completely different, and there is no sign of Daniela or Charlie. Meanwhile, Jason's abductor is revealed to be another version of himself, who we'll call Jason 2, who enters Jason 1's house and seduces Daniela. Also, by the way, Jason 1 discovers that in this new universe that he's in, he's a renowned physicist, and it's him who won the Pavia Prize. And in this reality, he doesn't have a wife at all. So, that's a combination of Wikipedia and also my own summary of the things. But yeah, Patrick, as you're watching this, like anything you think was done well, or your overall reaction was the pilot was okay. So I assume you thought this was all just very competent, but not particularly remarkable.
Well, I do like. I sort of assume like, oh, he's waked up in this other universe. He's in the lab. Like, oh, okay, like we're probably gonna spend a couple episodes of him being studied in the lab, and like. I love the fact that he just does the thing that you should do. It's like, fuck this. Like the moment that elevator opens, is like, I am out of here. Which is really fun. And the fact that you're dropped into a just slightly askew universe where it's plausible that he can escape when people are like coming in the front door, because he knows like the best way to get out a side door and then into an alleyway, because it's same but different. And so that adds like a level of credibility for him to escape sort of a sequence like that is pretty fun. And so I think the one thing that maybe it'll make more sense over time, but like he was gone for 14 months. Like everyone treats him like he's lost his marbles when he's like, I don't really recognize anything that's going on. And like, I think I have a different family. And like, this isn't what did they think they were doing as an experiment that would now not allow the plausibility for after being gone for 14 months? You wouldn't grant him a little, I don't know, more like a little more grace on or believability on, I don't know. So I guess I don't know what they were experimenting on. And so maybe it's so deeply implausible or they were testing for something else. But I did think it was like, I don't know, man, like maybe humor the guy a little bit on the fact that he maybe he's telling his version of the truth, but everyone else kind of treats him like he's completely lost it. So I don't know, but I'm sure that will be explored, in episodes to come.
I will say that one of the things that's a little frustrating about the show is I do think the audience is often ahead of where the main character Jason is a lot. Like I think we already get, it's a multiverse thing and there's two Jasons and blah, blah, blah. And Jason 1 doesn't even, I think, fully understand that quite yet. Right.
Yeah.
And that's always tough when the audience is like super far ahead because you're like, will the character catch up or not? And so we'll see how that plays out. But one thing I did appreciate is when he gets home and shows up and then wham, like Amanda is right. Like that is just like what, like how the hell did you get in? And also like we're together like that I thought was just a really effective moment. And on that note, I want to give a shout out to Alice Braga. I mean, look, Alice Braga has been associated with some pretty rough sci-fi movies. Not only rough sci-fi movies, but often the movie becomes a rough sci-fi movie when she shows up, in my opinion, many times. I'm thinking of movies like Elysium or, Repo Man and, she's had a mixed track record, I think, when it comes to the sci-fi movies, but she definitely has like a type of movie that she really appreciates, Anyway, I Am Legend, another example. Not a bad movie, although the ending of the ending of the movie is kind of a disgrace, in my opinion. I Am Legend. But anyway, because they changed the fundamental meaning of the title. All right, go back to the show. Dark Matter. So one of my favorite moments from the first episode is when Alice Braga's character, Amanda, finds Jason in the, Velocity Labs crew quarters or whatever, and she goes to she's like so excited to see him. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're back!" And she gives him a hug, and he's like, "Who are you?" And then you see the reaction on her face, like she's like,
"You don't recognize me?"
Slowly, like the gears are turning, like she's starting to understand like what exactly is happening, and like what does it mean that he doesn't know who I am? Like what could that possibly mean? I thought that was like a great moment, just of great acting on her face, and she doesn't say it, like it's no words, it's just her realization of what's going on. I thought was really nice. And then when he finally gets home, the place that is supposed to be the most safe, and then wham, Amanda's right there. It's like, oh shit, like
yep,
you're screwed. So I did think there were some like really nice, surprising moments in this episode. Of course, we have to acknowledge that Jennifer Connelly is one of the most beautiful women on the planet. And so the idea of presumably Jason 2 wants to get with you. What is it about people, like guys jumping into different dimensions just so they can get with that woman? Like it's this is a thing that often happens.
Jennifer Connelly's got a type,
another, when I think of like dimension jumping people things, I think of the TV show Sliders. I think of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think of Duncan Jones's Source Code, right? And oftentimes one of the plot lines is you're a guy, you jump into another dimension and you want to like get the girl that you didn't get. And that seems to be a fixation. Like guys will literally invent interdimensional travel rather than go to therapy. Is kind of one of the themes that we're learning.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Patrick Klepek, any other thoughts on the season 1 premiere of Dark Matter? And then I'll dive into a few book comparisons that might be interesting to discuss. But any other thoughts?
No, I guess I would just ask you, is the moment that you stood up in your chair, metaphorically, or perhaps literally, Is it a specific moment or a dawning realization? Like, is there gonna be, are you gonna be able to next week be like, so that was the exact moment where I locked in on this show?
In my opinion, it is a moment, and if you don't know what that moment is, I think we'll have a rough rewatch of season 1 of Dark Matter.
All right, I'm looking. I'm literally going to wrap this podcast, and I'm going to the airport.
Okay.
And I'm downloading Dark Matter. I'm downloading The Bear. Well, I guess I'll download it tonight. But like, and like that is my plan. If I make it to what I think is the point, I will let you know.
Yeah, text me. Let me know. And I'll be curious to hear what people think about it as well. All right, so we're going to do some book comparisons now. And by the way, feel free to email us your reactions at decodingtv@gmail.com. But these are book comparisons. I'm going to really try hard to not spoil things from future episodes. But some people might find this spoilery. So like, if you're really averse, then don't listen to this part. But I wanted to bring up a couple things for the book that I thought were different and worth noting. Number one, in the show, I think Jason Dessen is a lot stupider than he is in the book. And what I mean by that is, like when he shows up at Velocity Labs, right? He's all like disoriented. He's all disoriented. Like, what's happening? Show me the money. Take me to the people. You know, like, where's my wife? Right? He's like all like discombobulated and stuff. And in the book, he's much smarter. He's like, because he's like, maybe these people are working with that guy. Right? Like maybe they're like, it's all part of some scheme to like defraud me or kill or something. And so he's like tries to like play along. He's tries like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. Oh, you want me to remember? Oh, I'm so sorry, I can't remember the thing right now. But maybe give me some. Like he's much more intelligent about it. And I don't know why they didn't keep that. I think it's because in the book you can like hear him reasoning out like all that stuff, and it'd be hard for him to show him doing that in the show, maybe.
Yeah.
But he does come a little bit dense. He does come off a little bit dense in the show, I think. What do you think about that?
Yes. I think that's part of to draw a contrast between in the other reality, he wins the prize and he's this like incredible scientist. I think they sort of. It's hard to tell how much is he a little.
Right, is he like literally just smarter in the other reality?
I don't think that's true. I think he's like sort of. There are parts of his intellect that have been dulled as a result of the life that he chose. And like, that's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily mean you're unhappy, but I think the show is probably going to explore the choices you made, the paths you didn't go on, and how that ends up, you know, compounding sort of interest intellectually, you know, happiness over time, or doesn't.
Yeah. One of the things that the show does that I think is really cool and that you start to get a glimpse of in the episode is the show cuts back and forth between the two realities quite frequently. And there is actually like a sound. It's like the Nintendo Switch clicking sound. It's like every time there's this click. I think it might actually be the same sound effect. Maybe we can compare. Maybe I can like try to compare.
I don't think they're the same sound effect, but I guess I'm sure that's copywritten. But I'd love to hear the difference.
Yeah, I think it's like the switch to click, and then you're switching different realities.
Right.
The book is entirely told in first person, so you're kind of really in Jason Dessen's head the whole time, and so. The show is much more like omniscient. You're bouncing around to different people, different characters. And so that's just something that I thought was worth noting. The other thing is the book is much more, I think, existential than the show. Like he's talking, you're introduced to his like train of thought, and he starts the book by talking about how like you never know when tragedy is going to take away everything you love. Like you never know when you're going to see your wife for the last time. You know what I mean? And I'm not. I do not think that gives away whatever happens in the rest of this season of the show, like in my opinion. But he's just saying, speaking philosophically, like, hey, sometimes like a metaphorical bus comes out of nowhere and like hits you, and then like everything you know is gone. And he's saying you don't know if that's something that happens. And certainly it happened. Like he's definitely been removed from his wife for a significant period of time, even as the end of the first episode, right? So yeah, it's much more existential. It's much more like dark. I think it's much more like reflective about how delicate life is and how like everything can just change all of a sudden. So, yeah. So that's another big change from the book. But the biggest difference, I would say, here's a small difference, Patrick, and I'm curious what you think about this. In the show and the book, Jason 2 wears a geisha mask to attack Jason 1. But in the book, it's like a full colored, like white with the eyeliner and the red lips, the geisha mask. And in the show, it's just like a blank white geisha mask. What do you think? Would he have been more threatening with like a full blown, like full colored geisha mask?
I thought it was fine. I thought it was creepy enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't really. I mean, it's just someone wearing a mask. I think itself is going to get you there.
That is a very small difference. So not a big deal. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up, that's a big change, is that in the show, Amanda is Jason's girlfriend, and like is living at his house with him. And in the book, as far as I know, so far they do not have that relationship. I actually think this is a great decision, and we'll understand why later. But like, in my opinion, you can imagine like how that reveal would play out if Amanda wasn't his girlfriend, right? Which is kind of how it plays out in the book. It doesn't have the same weight to it when she's just there, and it's like, oh, we're in a relationship. Like, it really ups the emotional stakes in a way that I think is better for the show that the book doesn't have. So those are a few of the differences that I thought. There's many more differences. There's like dozens and dozens of changes, but like I wanted to highlight like 3, 4, or 5 like meaningful ones that are worthy of consideration. Also, one other thing to note is they race swapped Amanda and Daniela. In the book, Daniela Vargas is Hispanic, is described as like Spanish, and I'm not sure, but I think Amanda is white. I'm not sure about that, but Jennifer Connelly plays his wife in the show, and my guess is Jennifer Connelly is interested, and the way you make a show is you have Jennifer Connelly and Joel Edgerton doing the show.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, well, we want them to do the show, and so they're going to do the show, and then they, Alice Braga is in there, and she is Hispanic, and the character is not in the book, so they kind of like race swap them, probably because like the Alice Braga role, she's not just, you can tell by the marketing materials, she's not like a headliner like Jennifer Connelly is, and so anyway. That's just worth noting. I don't think it's going to make a big difference in the show or the book, but wanted to mention that. So those are some book to show comparisons. Patrick, just are there any questions or any thoughts you have so far? If the answer is no, that's cool. But like, I just wanted to ask if there's anything you're wondering how.
No, I feel like I need to know I need to know the scope and scale of the show, right? Like it's sort of hard to ask questions because I don't know what questions the show wants to ask yet. Yeah. And it feels like next episode, I'll have a better sense of that.
Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.